Ben Johnson's agent speaks out and talks about how Ben Johnson was assured there would be no power struggle in the Chicago Bears front office and how that helped the Bears land the talented head coach. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Plus, we're going to look at some of the potential standouts in the 2025 Senior Bowl. As you know that the Bears do recruit out that Senior Bowl. We're going to get to all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host here, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today. And I want to start off talking about this interview that Ben Johnson's agent, Rick Smith, had on 670 The Score, in which he talked about how the Chicago Bears reassured Ben Johnson that the structure that they have was in order, right? And went so far as saying that Kevin Warren and George McCaskey guaranteed Ben Johnson will play a major part in the building of the roster going forward. Smith even saying this: "I was really pleasantly surprised when speaking about the Bears front office putting to rest concerns of a potential power struggle in the front office." I mean, listen, we all kind of assumed that probably happened and that conversation happened before Ben Johnson accepted the role here with the Chicago Bears, right? And I do think that giving Ben Johnson a say in at least how the roster is going to look, it just makes sense, right? You made this guy one of the highest paid coaches in the league. You brought him in. You heavily recruited him. You're trusting his vision as a head coach, and to fully trust and to invest in that vision, you do want to give him a say. Now, he doesn't have the ultimate say, but you do want to give him a say to come down, have the conversations with Ryan Poles and that front office so that they know what type of players he wants in the building so that he can coach them up and bring together his vision as a head coach. And overall, like, this search of Ben Johnson and how it's went down, it just has made the Bears seem like a much more competent organization than what we looked like last offseason when we were arguing apparently internally about if we wanted to keep Matt Eberflus on or not. And so that goes a long way in just helping to legitimize this franchise in this era of football, right? We know what the Bears have accomplished in the past before a lot of us were born, right? And they had a great run. They were a good organization, but football has changed. The game of the NFL has changed. What it takes to win in the NFL has changed. And the Bears have been very behind the eight ball in adapting to the evolving league. And so this type of hire with Ben Johnson helps that. Bringing in Ryan Poles, though, also help that, right? I know this has been an offseason where a lot of people have wanted to kill Ryan Poles and reframe some of the things he did to make it seem like it's all been bad. It is not. But now getting to work with the coach that actually has a vision, because I guarantee you most of you did not want Matt Eberflus having a decision on roster, right? But giving Ben Johnson that say is that's when you have a good coach, that's what you want to do. If you believe you have a good coach, you turn some of that over. You give them a say. You make them part of the process. You make them part of the committee that makes the decisions for the Chicago Bears. That's what smart franchises do, right? And the way that Ben Johnson's gone about bringing in these coaches and things like that, it all points to an organization that's just operating more like an actual modern-day NFL organization. So I'm glad to hear that they reassured him that there's going to be no power struggle. I'm glad that they reassured him that he's going to get a say in what this roster looks like, because that's what you do when you have a good coach. Guess what the Chicago Bears do? They have a good coach. That's what they do. They have a good coach, right? Now, we're trying to see how good of a coach he's going to be. We're going to see over this time period and how, over this contract, how great of a head coach that he can be. But you got a good guy. You got a guy with an eye for football. You got a guy with an eye for talent. You got a guy who's going to be able to develop talent. So when he sees something in somebody, not to say that Ben Johnson's always going to be wholly right. He's not. There's nobody who bats 1,000 in decisions in the NFL, because so much of it can come down to potential and the work ethic that the players is willing to put in, even if you see that potential in them. But you want to turn some of that over to Ben Johnson. So I, for one, am glad that the Chicago Bears did the right thing, operated like a seemingly good front office and organization, and did what needed to be done. That's all I can say on that one. So I'm glad that my Bears are actually looking like a damn football team. Let's go out there and get it done, right? And so love what's happening here. I think what how this has gone on and shook out for the Chicago Bears and for Ben Johnson, that matter, is right. The right things are happening here. And now that has brought some questions on, can Ben Johnson eventually be the guy and help turn this team around to where it makes this team be a destination for some players, or it makes this team look like something that players want to come to and be a part of? That's the goal here, right? That's what we hope. That's what you better have done all this for. Because if you didn't, got some serious freaking questions about that. So I think this is all going into the right direction for the Bears. Of course, like always, we just got to bring it all home. That's what it comes down to so often for this team. Can they do and make the right decisions to change the reputation that the Chicago Bears have around the NFL? And I think the Ben Johnson hire has gone a long way in getting that done a little bit. Now we got to bring it all home. And so let's hope that we can do that. And also in bringing it home, Ben Johnson is still working on his coaching staff. And the Chicago Bears reportedly have interviews with O-line coaches at Notre Dame and Ohio State. This is added to Dan Rouchar, who's also expected to interview. They did interview Ohio State offensive line coach Justin Fry yesterday. And it seems like now they're also going to be interviewing Joe Rudolph for a potential O-line coach here. He worked with Wisconsin in his time in Wisconsin from 2015 to 2021. He had 9 All-Americans, 5 first-team selections, 9 first-team All Big 12 selections as well, and 6 offensive linemen drafted to the NFL. And so this is another guy that they can look at for sure when it comes down to it. So I think that the Bears are doing they're doing the right thing as far as looking for their offensive line coach. They're putting in that work. And that's what it comes down to, putting in the work to get the right guys here. And this offensive line hire, like I've said many times, this is kind of the next big hire for the Chicago Bears, because the offensive line needs so much work that you want to make sure that you're getting the right guy in here. And let's hope that the Bears are doing that, right? Like, we won't know, of course, until we look at some things. But I tell you what, Joe Rudolph, right now, he's with Notre Dame. He did some work in Wisconsin. I'm not mad at it, right? So we'll see what it comes down to as well. And we'll see what the hires end up being. But I think Joe Rudolph is a guy that makes a lot of sense when it comes down to it as well. And we'll see what Joe Rudolph brings to the table. Now, something that's been really important for the Bears over the last few years has been the Senior Bowl. We've recruited very heavily out the Senior Bowl. When you look at, I think Tyreek Stevenson was one of those guys that came out of there. The Bears have done that. Now, offensive linemen, that's kind of what I focus on. That's where I'm at right now. And in this draft, there's some really good guys that can be looked at the offensive line for this team in the Senior Bowl. So when you look at it, we're starting off with the national team, right? There's some really big standouts in it as far as Ozzie Trapilo, the offensive tackle out of Boston College. Jalen Rivers, he's a guard out of Miami. Aaronette Essery out of Minnesota. He's an offensive tackle as well. You got Anthony Belton, an offensive tackle out of North Carolina State. Gray Zabrel out of North Dakota. He's a guard. Josh Connerly, another offensive tackle out of Oregon. And Marcus Mbao, a guy, offensive tackle out of Purdue. When you look at it, Trapilo is the right tackle to probably watch in this one. He can also play some guard. I think that versatility can really help out the Chicago Bears a lot. He's a guy that I really want to look at. And then Josh Connerly Jr. is a 2-year starter out of Oregon, and some mock drafts have him going to the Bears already. He's 6'4", 308 pounds, and this is a guy that you really want to look at, that I think if you're talking about bringing in a big body, I like him a lot. You also got Jalen Rivers. He's an interior guard that has some medical history things, though, but he's a guy that I like a lot as well. The Aaronette Essery is 6'6", 330 pounds. He's a really good pass protector. Some questions there in the run game, but overall, really good pass protector. And Anthony Belton is a 6'6", 336-pound guard. That he's a big body. So you want to look at those guys as well. Marcus Mbao is an interesting guy at tackle, but he could eventually reportedly be moved to the inside because he has short arms. So that's something to look at for. And then when you turn around and look at the American team here, there's some standouts here as well. Jonah Savalinia, I believe is how you pronounce it, 6'5", 330 pounds. Is an offensive guard out of Arizona. He's big. He's powerful. There's some questions there on his position, right? There's some people think that he can be moved to guard because of the lack of athleticism there, but some questions there. But then there's 3 guys out of LSU here. Darren Dellinger 3-year starter at left guard, but he's kind of projected to maybe be a backup in the NFL. You got Miles Frazier as well, 4-year starter. He plays all offensive line positions other than center. I think the Bears can use that a lot. And you use as a versatile player later in the draft, right? I think if you can get him later in the draft to help be a backup because he can play multiple positions, that actually goes a long way in helping the Chicago Bears pretty considerably. And then Emory Jones as well. This is a guy who he has 3 years as a starter experience, but he's reportedly a project and kind of already got that in Kieran Amagaje. So I don't know if the Bears go in that place as well. And then another guy to look out for as well in this one that I think the Bears may take a look at is Logan Brown, the offensive tackle out of Kansas. This guy's 6'6", 315 pounds. But, the thing when it comes down to it, he's probably going to just be tackle. Doesn't really bring a whole lot of versatility there, but he is somebody that the Bears could definitely take a look at. So those are the offensive linemen in the Senior Bowl to look out for, but there are also some really big defensive linemen in this game as well that the Bears could take a look at. Mike Green, he's a 2024 first-team All-American. He led the nation with 17 sacks as well. This is a guy that I tell you what, out of Marshall, if the Bears are able to get him, I would not be mad at it at all. The size that he has there, the quickness that he brings, this is a guy that can outright get to the football. So if you don't address it, your defensive end position with a veteran, he's another guy to look at. Joshua Farmer as well, out of Florida State as well. Florida State, 2-10 season, but I think overall Joshua Farmer as well is a guy that could make a lot of sense out of Florida State for the Chicago Bears team, depending on where they feel like they need to draft the defensive end in this one. I like him a whole hell of a lot in this Senior Bowl as well. But we know what the Bears have done in the Senior Bowl, man. There's a lot of guys that you can look at here. TJ Sanders as well, really good run defender and a solid pass rusher as well at that defensive tackle position. I'm not really too enamored with Zach Pickens, so I wouldn't be mad if the Bears did look at a defensive tackle in this draft. I think that can help the team a lot as well. So there's some guys that I'm looking at for. But let me know in the Senior Bowl, anybody that stands out, anybody you guys want to see take a look at, let me know that down below. All right, let's get into the voicemails that we have for today. This one's from Darius.
What's going on, guys? I'm Darius from Dallas here. I just wanted to do a little quick public service announcement from my fellow Chicago Bears fans, because I'm seeing some crazy shit in social media and on the news. We doing the typical thing that we do again. Guys, don't expect us to average 35 points a game week one. Please. Can we just please, for one, expect this guy to come in here, turn everything around, and be a juggernaut week one. And then if he's not a juggernaut within the first 3 weeks, we say, oh, we shouldn't have hired him. Oh, well, why didn't we go get Kingsbury? Or why didn't we go get this guy? Why we didn't go get Vrabel? I can see the fucking Chicago storylines now. The Ben Johnson flops and we didn't go get Vrabel. That's what we should have did. And the media's going to twist it and all that type of shit. Guys, Ben Johnson is building a culture. He is building a program from the ground up. Okay? He even said that in the press conference. He's not just taking his offense from Detroit and bringing it over here and saying, Caleb, run this. He's sitting down in a room. This is what he said verbatim. He's going to sit down in a room with Caleb one-on-one, and they're going to study hours of film together and come up with a plan. And I like that. I do like that. It's common sense. We finally got a coach that understands that you build your playbook around your personnel, not the other way around. All right, so I do like that so far. But, guys, I get the excitement. I do. And I'm right there with you. I'm excited too. But please don't let what happens in the off season, because I know we're going to have big off season signings. I know we're going to have big draft signings. Don't look at that and go, okay, week one, we win in 45 to zip. Okay. It's going to take about 6 to 7 weeks maybe for Ben Johnson to really get clicking. Okay. Another thing I want to point out, man, is, DJ Moore, I think, and I could be wrong on this. It is a little kind of subjective, but I think that DJ Moore, from a talent standpoint, just overall athletic ability, better than Amon-Ra St. Brown. Just look at the athletic ability. I'm not talking about anything else. They're both similar players. They like to attack the middle of the field with the routes, and they're really good running after the catch. They're very similar. Since 2022, when Ben Johnson took over as offensive coordinator in Detroit, Amon-Ra had at least 1,000 yards every year. I'm curious to see what he's going to do with DJ. I think DJ is finally going to get unlocked, even more so than Caleb. But let me know what y'all think about that, man. Texas up, Bear down.
Listen, Bears fans are going to overreact to game one of preseason, much less week one. It just comes with the territory. Like the Bears fans are so excited and hopeful for what this season is going to bring for this team that it's going to be hard to contain that excitement, I think, for this team. So, like, should they? No. Like, keep in mind, Darius, you were one of the people that I told last year, hey, Caleb Williams is going to have a rookie year. And you're like, Haize, don't tell me I can't get excited. Don't tell me I can't expect this. Yeah, he's going to have a rookie year. Ben Johnson's going to go through some rookie things. Now, I don't know if it's going to take till week 6 or 7, like you pointed out, but I do feel you that there's going to take some time for this thing to be a well-oiled machine. It just is. That's the reality of football when you change coaches, much less a first-time head coach. It's going to be some training camp preseason. It's all used to kind of work out some of the kinks, but there's nothing that simulates actual coaching at the end and play at the NFL level for a regular season game. So because of that, it is going to take a little bit of time, right? And as far as your thing on DJ Moore, is DJ Moore Amon-Ra? Is he better than Amon-Ra St. Brown? Here's what I'll say with that. He could be. I mean, I think that Ben Johnson, I trust Ben Johnson's going to get the most possible out of whatever is in DJ Moore. I just trust that because that's how Ben Johnson, to your point you made earlier, he builds his system based off the players. He's not coming in here and doing exactly what was done in Detroit. That's not what he's coming in here to do. He's not bringing that playbook and saying, hey, guys, I need you to run this one. How can we fit in this? He's going to fit his playbook per what this team's skill set is, and he's going to evaluate that, of course, the offseason, watching tape, working with these guys, developing these guys. So I love that aspect of it because that's what you need to be able to do as a head coach, right? You don't want to try to fit players into a system. That's what Shane Waldron tried to do. He tried to fit this Bears team into his predetermined system. Ben Johnson's not going to do that. He's going to really draw up that system per the talent that we have on this team. And I, for one, I love that. I respect it. And that's what I want to see for the Chicago Bears. So we'll see what happens with that one. But I'm overall hugely excited about this. And I think that we're going to have a really, really nice season. But all right, let's get into the next voicemail. This one's from Ant.
Yo, what up, fellas? It's your boy Ant calling in about the coaching hires and the coordinators and everything that we got going on right now. And it's reminding me of 2018, Nagy's first year. And I say that in a good way, not in a bad way, because if you remember the 2018 coaching staff that Nagy put together his rookie season, he put together a really good staff minus the coach or coordinator that had head coaching experience. Like, that's the difference between what Ben Johnson doing right now and what Nagy did then. But a big difference that Johnson doing now also is that he don't have the disadvantage that Nagy had. When Nagy hired Fangio have like a future head coach. Dennis Allen has already been the head coach. I don't think he's going to get a head coaching opportunity within the next 2-3 years because of his record as a head coach. So that's a big advantage. But like 2018, I mean, besides like how the Bears looked and we won the North and everything like that, I'm not trying to like say we going to be that. I'm saying from a coaching aspect, that team was coached phenomenally. Like from wide receivers to running backs to defense to DBs and everything. Like we had a great coaching staff and they coached that team well. That year, that team was not tabbed to win many games. Like we was I think the thing that everybody said we should have won was like 5 or 6 games that year, and they went out and they won 11. You know what I'm saying? Just because how the coaches coached up that talent. You had a second-year quarterback. You had a wide receiver coming off a torn ACL. You had a rookie running back. You had, you know what I'm saying, rookie safeties and a veteran lineman that came in. You had an aging lineman that everybody said was done and over with, and Akeem Hicks. Like, they coached those players up. And if Ben Johnson coaching staff that he's making right now can match that energy and match that coaching level, this team is going to be unpredictable. And I'm hoping that they match that they equate that, because this team absolutely has the talent to do it. It's just if we got the coaching to get it done. So I'm hoping that we do. It looks like we will, and I'm so happy that the Dennis Allen hire, because like the defensive staff that he gonna put together is gonna be exactly what this team needs. But that's just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. As always, shout time up, bear down. Love you guys. Y'all have a good one.
Here's the thing, much like with Darius's voicemail there, that I'll say, don't allow the hype to become your expectation. Right? That's what I come like. It's not about comparing to any other Bears team. I've seen people be like, well, if you look at it, this is compared to Matt Nagy. It doesn't matter. There's so many intricacies that go on into a football team that even if you did have, let's say even if you had the same exact talent with a different coach You can't tell the results, right? It's going to take time. We're all hyped. We're all excited, but do not let the hype become expectation. Let what we see on the field after the first 2, 3, maybe even 4 weeks, then let's let that become our expectation. But let's not let what we're seeing on paper and even some of the signings and all this thing all of a sudden become our expectations for this team. Listen, it's great to be excited. And yes, I think that we're in store for a much better, much more well-executed football team than what we had last year. But we got to let the season come and go. At least that's the standpoint that I'm taking with it now coming into this year. Is I'm just going to let it be what it's going to be. I'm not going to try to make it be anything. I'm going to let this season develop into what it's going to be. We're going to see what comes out on the other side of that. If you trust the process, right? Not in the sense of the 76ers process, because that process did not work. But let's go through the normal process, right? I hear everything you're saying. I'm equally excited. I'm hyped as well. And I think this Bears team can do some really good things, but I'm going to wait until I see what's on the football field before I start letting the excitement that I have over this team and the hope I have over this team start becoming the expectations that I have for this team, if that makes some sense. That's just personally where I sit at. No slight to anybody who's getting hyped. It's great that we have a team that everybody can get hype at again, but let's wait and see. We've gotten fooled before. Not that I think that Ben Johnson's necessarily going to fool us or be a bunk coach. I don't think that at all, but you just got to wait and see. The learning curve is different for everybody. And also, we don't even know exactly what the roster is going to be yet, right? So let's wait and see what this team is going to look like. Let's see how they execute what's happening here. Let's see what the coaches do to help kind of fix some of the things that we've seen hurt this team over the last few years. At least, like I said, that's where I sit. But as always, you guys can let me know how you feel down below. Make sure you guys are following the show at Shy Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, chicagobearscentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that's thanks to you lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.